You take the evening off. No work. No real obligations. Nothing dramatic. You sit down. The house is quieter. The pressure is supposed to be over. And still, the next morning, you wake up like the night never reached you. That is where a lot of people make the wrong conclusion. They assume rest failed because they need more time, a cleaner routine, or better discipline. But if you keep thinking like that, the risk is simple. You start treating depletion like a scheduling problem, while the same inner condition keeps draining you underneath every attempt to recover. By the end of this video, you'll see one clear thing: why stopping is not always restoration, why energy does not reset just because activity stops, and what energy transmutation actually has to change when rest is not enough. Because rest and restoration are not the same thing. You can stop moving outwardly while something in you is still working, still bracing, still replaying, still anticipating tomorrow, still carrying the same invisible pressure into a quiet room. And if that does not change, the evening passes, the hours pass, the sleep may even happen, but the force does not really come back. That is the first thing. The second is what makes this useful. Your energy is not just a feeling. It moves through the part of you that carries the day. Your attention, your steadiness, your nervous system, the way your body receives either pressure or relief. If that layer is worn thin, quiet does not feel like relief. It feels blank, like you stopped the activity, but not the strain. That is why a calm evening can still leave you flat. Have you noticed this? You stop working, but you do not feel released. You lie down, but your body still feels like it is waiting for the next demand. You finally get silence, but instead of softening, you become vague, heavy, or strangely unreachable. That is not imaginary, and it does not mean you are bad at resting. It usually means the same condition followed you into the rest. So the problem is not always, I didn't rest long enough. Often it is, nothing in me actually shifted. That changes the whole reading, because now you stop saying, something is wrong with me. I rested. Why am I still depleted? And you ask a better question, what stayed on all the way through the rest? That question matters because energy transmutation does not begin by adding more hours. It begins by changing the condition that receives those hours. And this is where a lot of sincere people get trapped. They think recovery begins when activity stops. But if the system remains in pressure, in self-monitoring, in silent dread, in the feeling that something is still pending, then what looks like rest from the outside is still expenditure from within. You are still spending force, just more quietly. Here's the sharper way to see it. Sometimes what you call fatigue is not only lack of sleep, it is continuity of strain. Not dramatic strain, not open crisis. Just the same tone repeating across the day. The same tension behind simple tasks. The same invisible demand to hold everything together. The same low-grade contraction, even in moments that should be neutral. And when that tone repeats long enough, you stop noticing it. That is the trap. Because once depletion becomes familiar, you stop treating it like a condition and start treating it like your nature. Midway, that is where we are. Not in a mystery. Not in a personal failure. In one very precise mechanism. Rest does not restore when the same drained condition keeps ruling the whole system. Now the next part is the real turn. So what does energy transmutation actually mean here? Not pretending to feel better. Not forcing bright thoughts onto a tired system. Not trying to jump from exhaustion to radiance in one move. It means changing what has authority inside you. That is the hinge. If your whole body is still organized around pressure, then rest becomes another room inside pressure. If your whole mind is still organized around I am behind, then free time gets read as delay, not relief. If your whole inner life is still organized around vigilance, then silence does not feel nourishing. It feels unsafe. So the first real question is not, how do I feel amazing again? It is, What keeps turning quiet into more carrying? That question is cleaner and more merciful. Because once you see the ruling pattern, you stop fighting fatigue as if it were only a sensation. You start noticing what drains you before the evening even begins. Some conversations leave your whole system thinner. Some habits look harmless, but keep the pressure alive. Some environments appear restful, while your body never actually yields inside them. And once that becomes visible, recovery becomes more intelligent. Less about escape, more about coherence. Less about, I need a bigger break. More about something in me needs to stop holding the same load. That is also why force often fails here. When people stay depleted, they try to recover through intensity. A stricter reset, a more perfect routine, a harder push toward control. But force applied to an already drained system often creates friction, not renewal. It can feel productive for a moment, then the same crash comes back. So if rest has not been restoring you, do not rush to conclude that you are weak, undisciplined, or closed to change. Often the truth is simpler than that. The evening was quiet, but the same burden stayed active inside it. And once you understand that, you stop worshiping time alone. You start respecting condition. You start seeing that restoration is not just the absence of motion, but the return of inner coherence. And that is the line I want to leave with you. A quiet night does not restore you if the sane, exhausted part of you is still carrying the whole room.